Welcome back to the She Sells, He Sells podcast, where we are here to change the way you think about sales by getting you to look at it in a whole new way. Krista here today, and I am doing a solo episode for you about a phenomenon, an effect, a theory, so to speak, that I've never brought to the podcast before, but if you're an ACORN client, you've likely heard me talk about this. But I'm going to build up to it. I'm not going to give it away right away for you. You know, this theory came about because of really talking to clients and me thinking about my own journey about how hard entrepreneurship is. Running a business is one of those things that you don't really get it unless you're in it. You can try to tell your family, your friends, people that you know that don't do it about what it takes. But unless you've really walked the path yourself, you don't truly understand it. First of all, I think the pressure and the stress of having to create your own income is heavy. It's a lot. You don't make money unless you generate the money yourself. And that is the huge differentiator between working for someone else and working for yourself. It's one of the most amazing things because there really is no upper limit. There's no glass ceiling. It is a meritocracy that the harder and smarter you work, the more money you make. However, it's really hard. If you need to take time off, you know it's going to affect the bottom line. If your energy is off or not where it needs to be, it's going to affect the bottom line. If there's a big mistake that you make at work, it's going to affect the bottom line and what goes into your bank account, what you can pay yourself. So that's a lot of pressure, a lot of stress. The other piece of the puzzle when it comes to entrepreneurship is that it's really the grit, the tenacity, the consistency, the doing the same thing again and again and again, even when you're not so sure if you should, you're not entirely sure it's the right thing to do. You're feeling a little silly because you're doing it again and again, and maybe you're not getting the results you want. You're feeling like other people are watching you not get the results you want. That's also difficult. And I bring these things up because if you know, you know, and if you don't know, maybe now you do. But they really kind of lead into this effect. So I'm naming it an effect, just so we're on the same page here. It's an effect. EFFECT, that kind of effect that I want to talk about. Back when I first started ACORN, it really started as a confidence and clarity program, how to get confidence in yourself and clarity in what you're supposed to do. And that is still what it is, but it's evolved to be a lot more sophisticated and robust when it comes to messaging and selling your product or service and yourself. And we talked a lot about kind of building those brand beliefs back in the beginning of ACORN. So brand beliefs are something I teach you to build in ACORN Amplify. They're really kind of the hills you will die on, and then how to continue speaking about those brand beliefs. And there's a lot of different marketing phenomenons that talk about how many times you need to say something in order for it to stick. There's the rule of 7, and that was kind of the old school marketing phenomenon, which is a consumer needs to hear something 7 times before they'll remember it. Now I think latest research is 22 times. We need 22 exposures to something before we remember it. And as we were learning about these things, I was teaching my clients about these things, and then I was encouraging them to share their messaging, share their brand beliefs again and again and again. And they were saying, well, I feel like a broken record. I feel like I'm saying the same things. I feel like everyone is sick of me saying it. I always say to them, when you feel so tired and sick of hearing yourself say the same thing again and again, that's usually when someone is waking up to what you say. And so I was searching for an analogy or something that I could use to explain this consistent, repetitive messaging that we need. Right around the time, we went to a birthday party with my son, Bennett, who at the time was probably 5 or 6 years old. And there was a piñata there. And I watched these kids take their turn at the piñata. So just to paint the scene for you, line of kids, unruly, wild children, waiting in a line. And the first person, blindfold on, takes the baseball bat and takes a swing at the piñata. And the piñata barely moves. The next kid, blindfold on, baseball bat in hand, takes another swing at the piñata, spins a little bit. Third kid, blindfold on, takes a swing at the piñata, moves a little bit more. We go through 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th kid. By the time they get done that one line, the piñata is barely touched. It barely looks like anyone has hit it. Now, these are small kids, and maybe if they're bigger, it would have a little bit more damage. We go through the line again. You start to see a little bit of wear and tear in the piñata. Go through the line the third time, and all of a sudden, you start seeing cracks form in the piñata. And what's inside the piñata? The good stuff, right? Candy, riches, right? I always say the riches are inside the piñata. And with each subsequent swing of that bat on the piñata, the crack gets bigger and bigger, and you can see what's inside, and little bits start to fall out. First piece of candy, and then the next kid goes, and maybe there's 3 more, and then the next kid goes, and 2 more, and then the next kid goes, 5 more, until the lucky kid, and it's usually not the strongest kid or, the kid with the most force. It's the kid that just happens to have the swing that breaks open the piñata. It's just been hit the right amount of times, and it just needs that one more swing, and it opens. And when it opens, all the candy comes out, and all the kids go rushing to the piñata to get all of the good stuff, and they scramble it up. And so I was at this party having that experience right around the same time that I was talking to my clients about the repetitive messaging they need in order to see the gains in their business. In order for people to want to buy from them, they need to show up again and again and again and say the same thing in new and exciting ways. And I thought of that piñata. And so I named that the piñata effect. I know, this is mind-blowing, right? But the piñata effect, when I say to my clients, don't forget the piñata effect, they know exactly what I mean. It means that to you, you're like, I've swung at that piñata. I've tried to hit that goal. I've talked about that thing that I want to sell. I've pitched myself 10, 12, 15 times and nothing is coming. And to you, it feels like nothing will ever come. But you're forgetting what's happening to that piñata. You're forgetting what's happening to that thing that you're trying to crack open, to that opportunity, to that big rush of cash flow into your business, to that person saying yes to you. There are cracks. It's opening. Opportunities are getting closer and closer to coming to you. And what we often do as entrepreneurs is we walk away before the candy has fallen out, before we can see all the good stuff, because we're so frustrated, because we've hit that piñata so many times. And I get it. I've lived this so many times. And I look back on the things that I walked away from and I wonder, gosh, what if I just tried one more time? What if I just swung one more time? Or maybe 5 or maybe 10? What would have come out of that thing that I wanted so badly to get, but I just got too frustrated and I walked away from it? I want you to think about that in your own business. What's that thing that you really want to get? Maybe it's a launch. Maybe you're in the middle of a launch like I am right now as I record this episode. And you're like, I've been sending the emails, I've been showing up on social, I've been having the conversations, I had the masterclass, I did all the things, and nothing's coming. No one is buying. And so you're tempted to be like, well, forget it. I'm just going to stop. I'll take a step back and I'll relaunch at a later time. Maybe it's one specific opportunity with one person. Maybe there's a client or a customer you really want to land. Maybe you're a product-based business and you're trying to get in wholesale. Maybe you are a coach or a service provider and you have this one person that you know would be an incredible connector to bring so many other opportunities your way. And you've pitched them and you've pitched them and you've tried to build the relationship and it's just not going anywhere yet. And you want to just say, forget it. They are not the person for me. I'm walking away. Maybe it's a book or getting your podcast picked up by a network or speaking on a stage or getting in the press, landing a TV spot. And you're trying and you're putting yourself out there and it just does not seem to go anywhere. Whichever of those scenarios resonated with you, what if you knew if you did it one more time, if you reached out one more time, if you shared your offer one more time, one piece of candy would fall out. One thing would come to you. Would you do it? What if it took 5 more times, 5 more follow-ups, 5 more pitches, 5 more showing up on your Instagram stories when you feel like your views are declining, 5 more pieces of content, 5 more emails? And in order to get 5 more good things, you need 5 more exposures. Or maybe that one thing takes 5 more times. Would you do it then? What if it took 10 times? What if you had to show up 10 more times? The follow-up, the email, the social, the talking to people, the going to the networking events, the prospecting for new customers. What if it took 10 more times and at the end of the 10 there was something really good, the best piece of candy, so to speak, waiting for you? The book deal or the connection to the agent or the big contract. Would you do it? Probably yes, right? If you knew that you just had to do it a little bit more consistently, a little bit more frequently, again and again, you probably would. But we don't know. We don't know how many hits of the piñata we need before the good stuff comes out, and that's why we get frustrated. I've been at my business, this business, ACORN, for 4.5 years now. Before that, I was in business for 10 years. So I've been in entrepreneurship long enough to know that the things that we want will come. Maybe not in the exact form that we imagine they will, but that good stuff will come when you have your messaging locked in, when you know how to sell yourself again and again and again in new and fresh ways, and when you have the grit and the tenacity to do it again and again and again. It doesn't need to take 10 years. Sometimes it's 10 days. Sometimes it's 10 minutes of a good, consistent message to get someone to take action. We just don't know. I had a situation that I'll share more about as time goes by, but something really cool just came my way. I just landed something really big. And this was something that I was turned down from 2 years ago. So 2 years ago, I had an opportunity come my way, kind of out of nowhere, seemingly, but actually as I trace it back, it was a referral from a referral from a referral. And it was an opportunity to speak, to be on a stage in front of a lot of people. And I was really excited about that opportunity. It felt like a really big deal, and it would get me closer to where I want to be, which is speaking on lots of stages and in front of a lot of people, training them and coaching them and doing workshops. That's the end goal for me. That is really where I want to go, and that is where I know I will thrive. at my highest level. And so this opportunity came 2 years ago, and I was so excited about it. And I went through the process. I had to put together like a pitch deck and a proposal. And I sat on a call with people to sell myself. And I felt like it went really well. And based on a few different things, I thought I'd landed it. And it was this time of year, 2022. I remember sitting in my car just as I was about to pull out and go pick my daughter up from school, and an email dinged on my phone, and I saw who it was from, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is it. This is the offer. And I opened it up, and they said, you know what? We really enjoyed talking to you. We enjoyed getting to know you. We're behind your mission, but it's just we decided to go in another direction. You didn't get the job. And that really sucked. That was like that gut punch. But I remember going on my Instagram stories in that moment, and I need to go back and find it. And I remember saying, I just missed out on something big. And my first thought was, they made a mistake. They made a mistake. I really felt like, oh, you guys, you should have booked me. You should have booked me. And I knew that was growth in myself and confidence in myself, that was my reaction instead of what did I do wrong and what's wrong with me. And so I kept keeping on, putting a podcast out every week, showing up on Instagram 3-4 times a week on posts, writing a weekly email for, I think we're on 3 years straight now, continuing to create messaging, continuing to market myself, continuing to sell myself, kind of not specific to that company at all, but about 2 or 3 weeks ago, I was reached out to by the same person and said, we're back at it and you're still on our list and we'd like you to pitch yourself again. And so I did. And I got a call from the CEO and we got on a Zoom and we talked a little bit. And she said to me, I have to tell you, we've been paying attention. We've been watching. We've been continually impressed with the way you're showing up and the way you're selling yourself and how you've evolved and how you were great 2 years ago and you're even better now. And we want to offer you this opportunity. And it really was that piñata moment because I thought I had the piñata open 2 years ago and I didn't. It took another 2 years. And if you would have told me 2 years ago, well, you're going to have to be at it for 2 more years and then something will happen, I would have said, probably forget it. That's too long. But over the last 2 years, a lot of other cool things have happened. A lot of other great things have come my way. I've made a lot of revenue in the business from the way that I've sold myself and marketed myself. And so it doesn't always look clear. You don't always know exactly when that piñata is going to open. And there's going to be other candy that comes out along the way and things that are going to come your way. So you've got to keep going. You've got to have the confidence and the tenacity to sell yourself. You got to have your messaging locked in. You've got to know how to do it, and then you've got to do it. As I was preparing for this episode, it made me think of 3 of our Amplify graduates. So when you're listening to this episode, Amplify is open. This is the program that we're really helping you build your brand. We're helping you tell your story. We're helping you sell with certainty, sell by being you. And when you do that, yes, you sell more things, but you have that messaging and you have the confidence yourself to keep going. So I was first reminded of Amanda Moats. Amanda Moats is the founder of Project Your Best. She teaches women how to have sustainable style, how to look good, feel good while doing good things for the planet. Amanda was in our first round of ACORN Amplify, and Amanda came to help sell more of her product, sell more of her service. She has a great Poshmark course, and you can find her again at Project Your Best. And Amanda got so locked into her messaging in the very beginning of the program. So she started, and by week 2, she was putting more and more and more messaging out there and getting these great conversations with her clients. And in the middle of, I think by week 6, she was like, you know what, I'm relaunching my Poshmark course. And she relaunched that course and she made 200% more in her launch during ACORN Amplify than she did in any launch before, than her best launch before. So she had these amazing numbers, but she also got this incredible confidence and clarity in herself. And I want you to listen to this message that Amanda sent me in the middle of the program. That is proof that it's, yes, about the money, but it's also about this confidence in yourself to keep going. Then take Shannon Coleman Siciliano. So Shannon is an executive coach primarily for BIPOC leaders. Black, Indigenous, people of color is what BIPOC stands for. And she helps these leaders of color really be able to own who they are and step into their power in their leadership positions by doing a lot of inner work. The inner work is the work is really what Shannon came up with in her messaging. You can follow her on Instagram at I am Shannon CS. I'll link these profiles in the show notes as well. Shannon came to me because she was like, I've done all these programs. I've done all these things. I've followed, she'd invested, I think, $20,000, $30,000 over the course of her business and, learning social media, learning, being in the right room with different business owners, doing all these things. She was like, there's just something missing. And I feel like it's that I still don't understand what makes me different. I still don't know how to sell myself in a way that makes me feel good. And so when I go to do it, it just falls flat. I feel weird and I just hold back. Shannon had incredible gains through the material we did in ACORN Amplify, the clarity she got in herself, the ability to message herself, the endless font of stories that she created, because really what we do in Amplify is teach you how to sell yourself through telling really good stories about yourself and about what you do. She was on fire. I want you to listen to this message. Actually, it was part of a conversation that we had about what she felt that she was learning. So a ton of clarity, this ability to show up again and again and again, which helped her launch a weekly newsletter where she's getting incredible feedback from her people. She's building these connections. They are signing up to work one-on-one with her. But the other cool thing that happened with Shannon is she actually launched a group program. She took her one-on-one services and she created a group program from them because of the clarity that she got through this process. She always wanted to do a group program, but she didn't know how to message it. She didn't really even know what it could be because she was so busy spinning her wheels and doing all these other things that she thought she was supposed to do as a business owner. Amplify gave her the space to stop, to build the foundation, which it gave her incredible confidence and clarity in herself, in the way she messaged herself, and in the way she could serve other people. She launched the group program, created a whole new revenue stream for her business. And then the last person I want to tell you about is Chris Gorton. Chris Gorton is a boss, a total boss. And I'm going to start by telling you Chris Gorton is 62 years old. So Chris came to me because she had an Airbnb that she wanted to sell and market better. But she also had this dream of this personal brand, because if you know Chris, you know she has got something special and she can market and sell the Airbnb and the other. She's actually got a new one that she's marketing and selling now. But she is her product. Her life advice, her way of doing things is really so inspiring. And the fact that she is 62 and she lives the way she does and she carries herself the way she does is so inspiring. And so Chris came to Amplify and we got really clear on her messaging for Lakeside Maison Rouge, which is her Airbnb on the lake. I forget which lake in Michigan. I'm going to link Chris in the show notes too. She is Chris Gorton XO on Instagram. And Chris did amazing with that. But here's what's really cool. Through Amplify, she kind of started understanding herself more and she built that confidence in herself. I keep using that word, but that's really what it is. And she started using her messaging and she started connecting with other people. And people were like, Chris, you have so much to share. She was telling these stories and we want to hear more. And she started a YouTube channel because she wants to share her advice, her life advice on making beautiful choices in life and living a life that is graceful and full of purpose. And Chris also decided to run for Mrs. Michigan. Mrs. Michigan, at 62 years old, Chris has entered herself in a beauty pageant, or I guess that's what you still call them, because she has a platform and she has a purpose and she has a mission, and she wants to show other women that you are never too old and it is never too late to follow your dreams. Here's what Chris had to say after Amplify. I could go on and on with stories of women who've experienced incredible transformations with this program, but I'm going to end it here. But I want you to remember that piñata effect is only as good as your confidence in yourself and as your clarity in what you're going to say. And that's what Amanda had. That's what Shannon had. That's what Chris had. And it paid off for them, yes, in the way they thought it would. They came to learn how to sell their product, their service themselves better, but in so much of a bigger and better way. If you are ready for that sort of transformation, I hope you join us in ACORN Amplify. It is a magical program that has now a year of coaching support, lifetime access to the material. It is about selling your product or service, but it is more about what you learn about yourself, how you can show up for yourself, and how that trickles into other parts of your business, but also other parts of your life. I want you to know your different is better than better. And you already have what it takes. You don't need some fancy strategy. You need to go deep on you and understanding how to communicate who you are and being confident. And when you do that, you are unstoppable. So let's continue to hit that piñata with this clarity and with this confidence. And I hope you will allow me to help you do that through the program. I am always cheering for you. Until next week. I'll see you then.